Hi you guys, and welcome back to another true crime and makeup time video. I hope you guys are having a great day. If you guys enjoyed this content, consider subscribing. It would mean so much to me and you would never miss another video. So today's case is really dominating the internet right now. Everywhere you look, every time you open up any apps on social media, it's just right there in your face. And that's because it's such a strange case, but also one that has left a ton of photographic and video evidence along the way. So it is a developing case, and there's not a ton of information available as yet, but it's definitely a case that millions of us have been fascinated with. However, the way that it is unfolding is quite devastating, and it's almost like a movie plot. So if you have or haven't heard about Gabby Petito, let's get into how this case started and who Gabby is. And I want to be as respectful as possible because this case is still currently unfolding. We don't have a ton of information, so keep that in mind with everything that I'm going to discuss now. So originally from Blue Point, New York, Gabby actually lived with her fiance/boyfriend Brian with his parents in Northport, Florida. And this case really begins when the two of them decided to travel across country, with Gabby documenting their entire trip on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And they decided to do this trip in their van. So on July 2nd of this year, 2021, they left from Long Island on a cross-country drive, and they posted a bunch of pictures from national parks, hot springs all around the country. And they used the hashtag #VanLife. And Gabby's most recent Instagram post was on August 25th. But after that, it just went silent. There was no movement, no activity. Brian and Gabby had been dating since March 2019, and they got engaged in July of 2020. And this is according to both Brian and Gabby's Instagram accounts. And since everything is so fresh, I will be reading their captions. So Gabby wrote alongside this picture, "Brian asked me to marry him and I said yes. Brian, you make my life feel unreal and every day is such a dream with you." Brian on his Instagram wrote, "My biggest fear is that one day I'll wake up and it will have all been a dream, because that is what every second has felt like since the moment we found each other. Till death do us part, or until I wake up. I'm so happy the answer was yes. Love you, honey." But Gabby's mother, Nicole, actually believes that the two of them actually called off this engagement prior to them actually leaving for this cross-country road trip in their van, because they believed that they were too young to get married. So before we get into sort of what is being reported on the news, I thought it's important to go through and break down their Instagram timeline ever since they started this van life cross-country trip. So I've created sort of a timeline of the posts that they have posted on Instagram, and we can go through that and see sort of what they were doing. So like I mentioned, on July 2nd of this year, they embarked on their trip together in their van. And I believe that it was actually Gabby's van, but I'm not 100% sure like how they purchased it or when this took place. But their van was a white 2012 Ford Transit van. So they left Blue Point, New York on July 2nd. And even though they lived in Florida, they were actually in Blue Point, Gabby's hometown, because they were there for Gabby's brother's graduation, and his graduation ceremony took place on June 17th. Gabby's mother, Nicole, stated that Gabby wanted to cross the country in a camper van and live the van life and live free, and that this was her ultimate dream. So the trip began on July 2nd in Blue Point, New York, and it was supposed to end in October in Oregon. So Gabby's first Instagram post sort of on the trip took place on July 4th, and she posted from Kansas, and the picture she posted was between this large rock formation at Monument Rock's natural landmark in Kansas. And Brian also posted a picture that same day showing off the van and explaining that they were going to go on a cross-country trip. The next post took place on July 8th, 10th, and 11th. And these posts were allegedly from Colorado, where she was posing in Colorado sand dunes at a national park and reserve. And her caption stated, "After going on our first road trip across the country in my tiny car, we felt like there was just so much that we missed. Turning this Ford Transit essentially into a camper was such an adventure in itself, but I couldn't love the way it turned out more. All the places it's brought us so far have been amazing." So on the 10th and 11th, she posted more photos from those same sand dunes. So the next posts were on July 16th and 18th, where she posted a picture of her and Brian camping at Zion National Park in Utah. So there had been like 5 days between those two posts. And in the post, she said that her and Brian had spent the previous 2 nights camping at that park. And she stated, "We hiked up there in about 100 degrees and it was so nice coming back to our campsite, watching the sky fill with dark clouds and view the lightning storm in the nice cool air of the light rain." Gabby's captions are actually really well thought out, I believe. And she takes the time to really describe the moment, describe what she was feeling when she posted those photos. So on July 18th, she ends up posting a photo on Instagram of their actual tent. And this was at their campsite in Zion National Park. And the photo shows the couple's tent and it had throw pillows, a blanket, a small guitar, and some artwork. Then on July 18th, Gabby posts a picture of her and Brian embracing at the Narrows at Zion. And then a few days later, on July 21st, she posts a picture from Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah. And now this is about 72 miles away from Zion, which is like an hour and 20-minute drive. And then in a post on July 22nd from Bryce Canyon, Gabby stated in a post that it had rained every single night that her and Brian had been camping in national parks, but that she really enjoyed it and it was nice to, you know, come back from a long hike and then lay in your tent with the cold rain and then fight, you know, for the blanket with Brian. So from her post, it seems like she was having a great time. They were kind of living, you know, the dream. So then on July 26th, Gabby posted a series of photos from the Mystic Hot Springs in Utah. And she even posted a couple of photos of her and Brian, you know, kissing in the hot springs. Then after that, it was another 4 days till she made another Instagram post. And this time she posted from Canyonlands National Park, which was still in Utah. And in that post, she mentioned that Brian had actually hiked barefoot on that hike. And she stated that if it was up to him, he wouldn't own any shoes, and how she found it funny that a lot of people were commenting how he didn't have any shoes on that hike. So now just reading some of the comments on these posts, a lot of people are commenting that this photo onwards, they believe were not posted by Gabby. They're saying the captions and the wording is just different to her previous captions and it just didn't sound like her. They believe that the last photo that was actually posted by Gabby was the one from the hot springs on July 21st. And a lot of the people are also commenting that the captions now state at the top that they've been edited. Now, again, none of this has actually been confirmed. It's all speculation at this stage, but I thought it's interesting that people are commenting that. Then on July 31st, she makes another Instagram post from the Canyonlands, but this would actually be one of the last posts prior to her taking a 12-day break from not posting anything on Instagram. Then on August 12th, she makes another post from the Arches National Park in Utah, and her caption states, "On a calm Monday morning, Brian and I decided to take the highly trafficked hike to the Delicate Arch. Not sure if it's because it was 7 a.m. on a Monday, but there were actually not many people on the trail as I expected." And in the photo, you can see them at the bottom of the arch and they're kissing. And then the same day, she posts another bunch of photos from that same location. So she posted these beautiful pictures on August 12th, showing, you know, Brian and her in love, having the time of their lives. So now let's talk about the police incident that took place on that same day. So on August 12th, police in Moab, Utah stopped Gabby and Brian in their van because they received a 911 call from a witness calling about a domestic incident the couple allegedly had outside the Moonflower Community Cooperative. And the 911 caller said that they saw Gabby slap Brian across the face. And then I also heard the 911 call, but the snippet that I heard was that the witness was calling to say that the man had actually slapped the woman multiple times, and then he got into the van, and then I think they saw Gabby trying to get in as well. So if I can find the 911 call, I'll try and insert it.
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
And they say they saw Gabby climb through the van almost as if she was being locked out of the car and she was trying to like get in. One of the responding officers was Officer Robbins, and he actually followed the van. And then when he noted the van was traveling 45 miles per hour in a 15 miles per hour zone, he got the van to pull over, and he states that he saw the van cross double yellow lines, switch lanes, swerve to the right, and then collide into the curb. And then when Officer Rollins approached the van, he saw Gabby crying in the passenger seat. And he actually wrote in his report that she cried and, breathed heavily throughout the whole time that he was having the discussion with her. Gabby told the officer that she had been arguing with Brian and that she was struggling with her mental health. According to the police report, at no point in his investigation did Gabrielle stop crying, breathing heavily, or could she compose a sentence without needing to wipe away tears, wipe her nose, or rub her knees with her hands. Brian told the officers that so much time together in the van had created emotional strain, which led them to fight even more, while Gabby reported serious anxiety, which were made worse by all the little arguments that her and Brian were having throughout the day. Brian states that Gabby actually became manic from the fear that Brian was actually going to leave her stranded in the desert, and she struck him because she thought he was just going to drive away and leave her in the desert following this argument that they had. During the argument, Gabby apparently scratched Brian's face and arms, but the report stated that they are in love and engaged to be married and desperately didn't wish to see anyone charged with the crime. Brian had told the officers that he felt safe and there wasn't any evidence that he had actually hurt Gabby, and these were the officers' conclusions. So they decided to take Brian to a hotel, and then they left Gabby in the van because they wanted them to, cool off for the night. And the officer told them to, take advantage of this time apart to relax your emotions, regain control of their anxiety, and just sort of calm down for the night. In the body cam footage, you can hear the officer sort of telling them, don't, even contact each other as much as you want to. Don't even text each other to check if you're okay. And Gabby's asking him like, okay, but how far is the hotel that you're taking Brian to? Because I'm not used to driving the van, so I don't want to, drive too far. And the officer's like, oh, I don't want to tell you where he's staying, but it's not that far. You're going to be okay. And the police officer noted that Gabby was in a confused and emotional state, but I guess not enough to take further action. They kind of just left them to sort it out themselves, I guess. Their suggestion was basically for the two of them to, remain separated that night to relax and calm down. Both Gabby and Brian actually, expressed their concerns that they did not want to separate for the night. But according to the police report, they stated that Brian checked himself into a hotel and then Gabby stayed in the van for the night. Through the body cam footage, the police officers are quite nice to her. They even encourage her and show her this location to go take a shower to, and he says like his wife, always feels better after a shower, so maybe go take a shower. And she mentions that I took a shower. Like it's kind of like just this banter going on, and the officer seems nice. Police ended up labeling this encounter as a mental / emotional break rather than domestic assault, even though witnesses stated that they saw slaps taking place. So that's a bit, In the body cam footage, you can see Gabby, she's distraught and crying, and clearly she's upset something happened. Even if it's just a fight, I feel like if I'm fighting with my boyfriend, and I've been with my husband for 17 years, you know what I mean? Like since we were kids. So if I'm fighting with him, if cops come, immediately I kind of like regain my composure and, oh, nothing's wrong, nothing happened. You kind of want to minimize the situation. But the fact that Gabby was sort of talking to the officers and stating everything and crying even more, it seems more than just a little fight to me. Seems like something took place and we don't know what it was, but why was she so emotional? I mean, I don't know. People handle things differently, right? But like in my experience, if I'm having a fight and someone comes up to me, whether it's an officer or not, I kind of try to minimize the situation. Like, no, nothing's wrong. I wouldn't keep crying and sort of almost asking for help. That's the kind of vibe I get. Gabby was also recorded apologizing to Brian, for being so mean during their fight. And she also describes that she was hitting Brian and that she did so to get his attention while they were being followed by the police officer in the van. So that's what she admitted to doing. So now in terms of their Instagram posts, Brian had been posting on Instagram, but after this incident, he stopped posting on Instagram one day later on August 13th, 2021. So around a week later, the two of them launched their YouTube channel, which was called Nomadic Static, on August 19th. And the channel was actually created in November 2013 when Gabby would have been very young, but it just contains the one video which was posted on August 19th, 2021. The account is registered with an email address that belongs to Gabby. The video is 8 minutes long and it's set to music with, like a montage of their trip across the US. And I'm pretty sure it's got like over 3 million views at this point. The video shows several clips of Gabby talking to the camera about the trip, and there's even a clip where she talks about all the rain that they were experiencing. In another clip, she's putting together like a bowl of granola and yogurt and fruit and stuff with Brian in the background. There's a clip talking about their hammock setup in the trees. And then on that same day, on August 19th, Gabby posts a couple Instagram photos showing the inside and exterior of their van. And in the post, she's talking about how some guy left plastic trash on a picnic table, but that post was one of the only ones that didn't have like the location tagged. It just was a normal post. Then Gabby's father says that on August 21, he actually placed an Uber Eats order for the couple while they were staying in Salt Lake City because Gabby said that there was a power outage and she didn't have any Wi-Fi. So her father, Joseph, said that he ordered food through Uber Eats and got it delivered to them. And he says he knows it was in Salt Lake City and that is the last time that he spoke with Gabby. According to Gabby's parents, the couple left Salt Lake City on August 24th. And her parents say that they left Salt Lake City to head to Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, and they believe that they spent about 2 days over there. Her mother, Nicole, says the last time she spoke to Gabby was on August 24th when Gabby FaceTimed her as they were leaving Salt Lake City to head to Wyoming. And Nicole says that Gabby would FaceTime her around 3 times a week while they were on this road trip. The last time it is believed that Gabby posted on Instagram was on August 25th, and it's actually a really beautiful photo of her. She's standing on this beautiful background holding this crocheted pumpkin, and the post says Happy Halloween, which is kind of odd because I know it's a pumpkin, but it was like nowhere near Halloween. And usually her captions are quite long-winded, but this one just was simple. And like her previous post, this photo did not include any location tag, even though she was always sort of, tagging her location. Gabby's family received texts from Gabby's phone up until August 30th. And then Nicole says that the last text that she received from Gabby was Gabby texting her about losing cell service on her way or inside Yosemite. And the text said that Gabby was on her way heading towards Yellowstone National Park. But Nicole, Gabby's mother, states that she doesn't actually believe that this text was from Gabby. Her mother states that according to her, Gabby seemed okay. It's just that she didn't know where Gabby's relationship was sort of going with Brian. Now, this is where it kind of gets unbelievable. On September 1st, 2021, Brian returns back to Florida without Gabby. So after Brian returns home without Gabby, Gabby's parents report Gabby missing only on September 11th, which I just find strange unless they didn't know that Brian returned on September 1st, but I just find that really strange. Why did it take them 10 days to report their daughter missing? Again, we don't have a ton of information, so maybe more information will come out about this. So the Suffolk County Police Department said in a statement on September 19th that they were investigating Gabby's disappearance after her parents reported her missing. And the police stated that the van that the couple was traveling in had been recovered and that investigators had found the van at Brian's parents' house. And because Brian was the last person to see Gabby and also, her boyfriend, Brian was considered a person of interest. But strangely enough, and what makes this whole case, I guess, super interesting to everyone, is that when Brian returns without Gabby, he doesn't talk. He doesn't explain where she went. In fact, all he did was go and get a lawyer instead. Brian, at this stage, has not yet spoken with authorities, and he has declined to speak with the media directly. Instead, he is offering statements through his lawyer. The police in Florida stated that they show up to Brian's parents' house, they see the vehicle, they take the vehicle, and they make an attempt to speak with Brian, but his family actually makes him unavailable for comment, and they actually just gave the police the information to Brian's attorney. The Northport Police Department in a statement state that they called Gabby's disappearance odd, but they had no evidence that a crime had actually, been committed. On September 15th, the Northport police, who are actually working with the FBI, said that Brian had neither made himself available to the police nor provided any helpful information, leading to Gabby's whereabouts. The police at this point are pleading with anyone, including Brian, to share information on her whereabouts in the past few weeks, and they stated that the lack of information from Brian is actually hindering the investigation. Brian's lawyer, Stephen Bertolino, actually stated that in his experience, intimate partners are always the first suspects and always the people that law enforcement focuses their attention on in cases like this, and the warning that, any statement made will be held against you in a court of law is actually very true. And regardless of whether Brian, had anything to do with Gabby's disappearance or not, he has chosen to advise Brian to not make any statements regarding her disappearance, and this is solely to protect him. And he has also stated that Brian will continue to remain silent throughout the course of the investigation, and that's his advice by counsel. The police chief actually appealed to Brian's lawyer and stated, 2 people left on a trip together and only 1 returned. Gabby's family have said that they have not seen Gabby since August 25th or August 24th when she was hiking at the national park in Wyoming, and she actually FaceTimed her mother at that park, and that's the last time they saw her. And even though she apparently texted over the next few days, they're not sure if those texts were actually by Gabby before she went dark. They also made a statement saying that they don't eat, they don't sleep, they are frantically searching for answers, of their missing daughter, while Brian sits comfortably in his home. Now, another interesting twist which makes this case all the more fascinating is that on September 17th, police have stated that Brian has also gone missing from his family home. Brian's family informed the police that Brian had actually been missing since September 14th, which was a Tuesday, and they stated that Brian, left with a backpack on his way for a hike, and he just never returned home. So for 3 days, his family just didn't bother to tell the police that he was missing. Knowing that Gabby was missing too and that he was, a person of interest, they just conveniently forgot to mention for 3 days that Brian had been missing. There are theories that, this was to give Brian a 3-day head start, allegedly. Police ended up conducting a widespread search with over 50 officers and cadaver dogs, but on September 20th, they ended up calling this search off. So unfortunately, the sad sort of ending to this case is that on September 19th, so just a couple days ago, the FBI held a press conference sharing that they had found the remains of what they believe to be Gabby in a national forest in Wyoming. The body was actually discovered not long after family vloggers Jen and Kyle Bethune uploaded a video to social media recorded from their GoPro that was attached to their vehicle, and it actually showed a van matching the description of the one that Gabby and Brian were traveling cross-country in. The video was taken on August 27th at around 6 p.m. and it showed the van parked on the side of a windy road in the Spread Creek camping area. And at the time, it appeared that no one was inside the van. And Jen Bethune submitted this footage to the FBI on Sunday, September 19th. And it's not confirmed whether this van is actually Gabby and Brian's, but there are photo comparisons on social media showing a hat inside the dash and then also stickers on the back of the van, which matched images from their social media. And Gabby was wearing a similar hat, and, most likely it is their van, allegedly. So a cause of death had not been confirmed at the time that I was researching this case, and an autopsy was due to take place just this morning. However, that body is now confirmed to have been Gabby's, and the coroner has ruled it a homicide. So this is definitely such a sad and tragic ending to the search and to what was supposed to be an adventure of a lifetime. Brian, at this stage, who police are still calling a person of interest, is still missing, and comments on social media state that people believe that Brian is actually equipped to go off-grid and that he's done this before, and like I mentioned before, allegedly, he's had a 3-day head start. On Monday, September 20th, police declared Brian's home a crime scene, and Gabby's family actually doesn't believe that Brian is missing, but they believe he is in hiding. So that is all the information I have for today. I really believe that by sharing this story, hopefully we can spread more awareness about it, and more people who have encountered Gabby and Brian can come forth with some information to help solve this sad, sad case. This couple, you know, looked like they had the world at their feet. They were on an adventure of a lifetime, traveling for months across America to some of the most beautiful parts of the world. But that just goes to show you that the lives that people portray on social media is by no means a real reflection of what's going on truly in their lives. At this stage, we don't know what happened between Gabby and Brian. Clearly, there's some foul play involved, and hopefully Gabby and Gabby's family do get some justice in this case and find out what happened to her. My sympathies to Gabby and her family. This is such a sad case and just an instant where a relationship went horribly wrong. Let me know your thoughts on this case below, guys. And I will see you in the next one. Besitos. Bye.